Amara Knight was a woman of precision. The CEO of Knight Industries, a multi-million-dollar tech company specializing in renewable energy and advanced robotics. Every corner of her building reflected control, clean glass, strict schedules, zero tolerance for mistakes. And that's why she hated interruptions. "Janitors belong outside the lab," she said sharply one morning when she caught Ethan inside, quietly repairing a flickering light near the prototype generator. "I'm just fixing the fixture," he said humbly, not meeting her eyes. "You don't touch anything here. One wrong move, and we lose months of research. Stay out of my lab." Her voice echoed cold against the walls. Ethan simply nodded, wiping his hands on his uniform and leaving without another word. But what Amara couldn't have known, was that Ethan Cole wasn't just a janitor. He had once been an engineer, one of the best, before tragedy struck. His wife had died in a factory explosion caused by a design flaw in the same kind of generator Knight Industries was now developing. He'd walked away from engineering forever, until fate brought him to Amara's lab, mopping floors and quietly observing. Each night, after everyone left, Ethan stayed behind to clean. But he also noticed things: the strange vibrations, the heat leaks, the unstable readings no one else seemed to catch. He scribbled notes in his pocket notebook, quietly running calculations on old scraps of paper. He knew something was wrong with the new energy core design. One small misalignment, and it could overheat, leading to the same kind of disaster that had killed his wife. Meanwhile, Amara was under intense pressure. Investors were threatening to pull funding. Deadlines were crushing her team. She hadn't slept properly in days, and every delay felt like a failure. So when Ethan tried, cautiously, to tell her one evening, "Ma'am, I think the coolant pressure regulator might be miscalibrated," she snapped. "You think you know more than my engineers? You're a janitor, Mr. Cole. Do your job and let me do mine." That night, Ethan almost quit. But as he looked at the lab from the hallway window, the hum of the unstable generator vibrated through the floor. His gut twisted. He couldn't walk away, not again. He started working secretly on a solution, a small redesign of the coolant valve, a failsafe that could automatically lock down the system if it ever overheated. He built it out of scrap metal and discarded parts, testing it in the janitorial closet. He called it Project Phoenix. Days turned into weeks. No one noticed the quiet janitor carrying old tools, working late nights, or how tired he looked each morning. But one day, an intern, Maya, caught him sketching a blueprint. "You drew that?" she whispered, stunned. Ethan smiled softly. "Just an idea to make things safer." Maya looked torn. "You should show Miss Knight." He shook his head. She wouldn't listen. But Maya did something unexpected. She left his blueprint on Amara's desk without telling him. Amara found it the next morning. The handwriting was neat, the math was perfect, the design flawless. She frowned. Whoever drew this had real talent. But when she saw the initials EC, she froze. "The janitor," she murmured. Then, sighing, she threw the paper into her drawer. "He's not an engineer. It's just luck." She didn't know that the next decision she made, to ignore Ethan's design, would nearly cost her everything. The day of the big test arrived. Investors, reporters, and the government board were all watching the live demonstration of Knight Industries' newest invention, a self-regulating energy generator that could power an entire city block using clean hydrogen. Amara stood proudly on the observation platform. "This will change the world," she declared confidently. Ethan was in the corner, quietly mopping the floors, pretending not to listen. But his eyes were fixed on the generator's temperature readings. They were climbing, slowly, dangerously. "Ma'am," he said under his breath, "the coolant system's off by 2 degrees. It's not stable." Amara glared at him. "I said stay out of this." But as the generator roared to life, the floor trembled. Alarms flickered. A high-pitched whine filled the air. The readings spiked red. "Shut it down," one of the engineers shouted. "It's overheating." The control panel refused to respond. Panic erupted. And that's when Ethan dropped his mop and ran straight into the danger zone. "Ethan! Stop!" Amara screamed, but he was already there, ripping open the panel and replacing a broken valve with his Project Phoenix failsafe. Sparks flew. Steam burst from the pipes. He slammed his hand on the manual override. The entire system hissed, then went silent. Smoke billowed around him. The generator stabilized. The explosion that should have destroyed the lab never happened. When the smoke cleared, Ethan lay on the floor, barely conscious. Amara knelt beside him, trembling. "You saved us," she whispered, voice breaking. He gave a weak chuckle. "Guess I didn't stay out of your lab after all." Tears filled her eyes. "I'm so sorry," she said, gripping his hand. "I should have listened." Weeks later, Ethan was recovering in the hospital. When he opened his eyes, Amara was sitting there, holding a folder. Inside it was an official document, a job offer. Chief Safety Engineer, Knight Industries, it read. "Project Phoenix is going global," she said softly. "And I need its creator to lead it." Ethan's eyes filled with quiet pride and disbelief. "You sure your CEO's okay with that?" he teased. Amara smiled. This CEO learned that real genius doesn't always wear a lab coat.